this is something. They got a new party line, a new talking line in Chicago and all through the Democrat Party. You can see that they read the talking points memo. This one caught my attention on The View the other day, but I was kind of flabbergasted when I heard Governor Pritzker out of Illinois issue the exact same talking point. They're trying now to say that Donald Trump is going to steal the election, the midterms. I mean, hey, I get it, guys. Your poll numbers, S-U-C-K. I mean, wow, you're down in the basement. You got a 30% approval rating. I don't think it's ever been this bad. No, I'm pretty sure it's never been this bad for Democrats. And Chicago, that mayor's got a 6% approval rating. So he's even worse than the Democrat Party as a whole. So the reality is they know they don't have the votes to win midterm elections. Why? Because when it comes to every issue, whether it be the economy or immigration, guess what? Or sports, women's sports, all day long, Donald Trump and the Republicans are trumping them quite literally. And so now look at where they're going. Listen to this very, very carefully because you got to understand the mindset. This is what they're spinning. Listen to how Governor Pritzker weaves this into his conversation.
On the streets, even before the National Guard has made it to the streets of Illinois, you've got the Border Patrol. I was in Cicero yesterday, a 90% Latino population, and I watched as they not only pick people off the streets, but family members would come up to me and ask me where their family members were. I watched you with Rachel the other night here on MSNBC, and you were talking about how CBP has basically used the justification of the 100-mile border rule to allow the deployment here. And they're saying the border of Lake Michigan, the coast of Lake Michigan is the border. Lake Michigan, many people reached out to me and said, Lake Michigan doesn't even touch Canada. Are you thinking about suing to stop the deployment of the Border Patrol here as well?
Look, I think it's important to recognize that the Trump...
He doesn't have an answer for that. So watch where he goes. This is just really important, guys, okay? Because you need to understand where they're trying to take this already. And you know what they did before. And you know that they spied on GOP senators with that Arctic frost, wiretapping their phones illegally. We're getting to all of the developments that are just coming out today on that. But first, hear what they are saying.
Administration doesn't seem to respect any laws in the United States. They just do what they want to do, and they'll keep doing it unless someone stops them. Here in Illinois, we're stopping it. We're doing everything that we can to push back. And yeah, they've got armed, we're talking about automatic weapons and camouflaged, and they're not soldiers, right? These are ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents that are roaming the streets of Chicago, in downtown Chicago.
I like what Tammy just wrote there. Tammy Evans is convicted by people who lied and used lawfare to create something that didn't exist. You're positively right, and we're going to get more into that.
It's a show. It's a show of force. And why does Donald Trump want to do that? And I've said this before, and I think it's important for people to hear it. Listen. He wants to militarize major cities across the United States, especially blue cities in blue states, because he wants us to get used to the idea of military on the streets, military troops, because there are 2026 elections. I believe that he's going to post people outside of ballot boxes and polling places, and if he needs to, in order to control those elections, he'll assume control of the ballot boxes and count the votes himself. He promised to do that. He threatened to do that back in 2020. Didn't get the chance to do it. I believe he would do it in 2026.
Do you believe we'll have free and fair elections in the United States of America during the 2026 midterms?
If we all stand up and speak out, we sure as heck will.
He's like, you can't believe this guy because he's a convicted felon. He was convicted, right, of course, because you guys put your little apparatus and machine into play. And, some of that stuff's getting thrown out, like Fannie Willis's case, as we discussed. But the bottom line is he's trying to suggest right now, in the here and now, here we are, October of 2025, that the midterm elections will be stolen. They'll be stolen because, he's going to have military everywhere and he's going to steal the elections. And he's saying this with a straight face. This is what you call a talking point now. It just got put into the agenda of the Democrat Party. And how do I know that? Because yesterday, Whoopi Goldberg said this on The View, which is like, Main Street for the talking points of the Democrat Party. They have none. And so this is what they're going to listen.
This is in order to make the case, because in their minds, in all of their minds, they now believe they have carte blanche to do whatever they want to.
That's right.
Yes.
That's what the feeling is.
And if they stop us from voting, that's the one thing people
Well,
have.
I mean, it's the one thing that makes us very different from lots of other countries. Our votes, they do count. I do know that they count.
If we're allowed to vote.
Well, I think people will figure out how to vote because one thing I believe I know about Americans is they don't want to be told what to do. Yeah. They don't want to be.
Okay, cue the applause.
You know, they don't want it.
That's somebody who holds up a sign, literally, for the studio audience.
You can suggest some stuff, but they don't want you saying, you got to go over here and do this. They don't want that. They don't want a dictatorship. And I think people want, okay. I hear
You see,
this is the dictatorship right
This
here.
is the dictatorship right here.
yeah, because your producers know. Your producers know you're getting into scary, crazy land territory. Okay, so you know that's not going to fly. I just want to go to one of the comments here made by Cycrex Core. 8 USC 1324 is what could be used perhaps for arresting these people. 8 USC 1324, often referred to as the immigration law, it prohibits bringing in, transporting, concealing, harboring, and encouraging unlawful aliens in the United States. So that is indeed part of what can be used here. I mean, among other things, right? Because I've cited the Commerce Clause, I've cited the Supremacy Clause, but yeah, bringing in and harboring certain aliens into our jurisdiction here in the United States is not allowed for. So conspiracy and aiding and abetting or encouraging or inducing illegal entry, harboring or concealing, I mean, these are things that you might actually be able to, as we talk about whether or not Donald Trump can have them jailed for what they're doing, that actually might be kind of in the works. I don't know. I think it would be obviously a pretty tough case, but you've got the president making the point that however you think about this, we shouldn't be in a world where ICE cannot get backup when needed from local law enforcement. You know, and I'm looking at Bunny 07 who writes, that is why we voted out Democrats, because they were dictating what we could and could not do. Listen, this cannot go down this way. Okay, you've got Pritzker, you've got BJ trying to say that their city is totally safe from the feds despite the lawlessness that's happening. And my point is, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly in a court of law. And forget about this nonsense. Oh, he's going to steal the election, steal the election. They're so desperate because guess what? The majority of Americans actually want law and order. Majority of people in Chicago, heck, they want law and order. They want better schools for their kids. That's why they elected this guy, because he's got a background in the school system, okay? They thought it would be better than Lori Lightfoot. You remember her, Lori, who said, oh, nobody can have hair and makeup. Nobody can go to the hairdresser. Nobody can get a haircut. Nobody can get their hair dyed during COVID. Except for me, you see, because I am the face of Chicago. Oh, isn't she something to look at? Lori Lightfoot getting to have her own hairdresser come to her house, but nobody else could. You understand the hypocrisy. People are so darn sick of it.